One, two, three. I'm already on. Hello, hello. This is Ellen Mongan from Wow Mom, and I thank you for joining us today. I thank you that we are having a great show, and we're going to talk a lot about family. This is a time that God has provided for us to bind together as a family as never before. We have a great guest, and I'm going to have Jane Ann introduce her a little later, but first, before I go on any further, let me introduce my co-host, Jane Ann. Hey, Jane Ann.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
Doing well. How are you surviving the storm and the flood?
I know. Quarantine. We're doing well. Thank you. Doing good.
How's the house coming along?
We just put it on hold, and I just kind of put furniture back, and I was like, you know what? I just have to deal with that later. Right now, I have to try to maintain, peace and harmony, and just the structures of the four walls, my meals, laundry, because all my guys are working. They're still working. Praise be to God, but they're still working. So they actually have a letter that they have to carry in their trucks with them. So
God provides. God provides. Jana, I think it's marvelous that Jana is a homeschool mom, and she also builds family, and that's what we're glad about our guests. So without further ado, I'm going to let you introduce our guests today, Jane Ann. So can you do that? There's a song on her bio. I didn't know what to pick, so I go, Jane Ann, she's a simplifier. She can simplify that. She has 11 kids. She has to simplify everything in life, even closets.
And I'm learning how to simplify. But yeah, so this is Karen Whiting, and well, gosh, there's so much to say. I mean, we could take up several shows. She has so many accolades. I mean, books she's written, and I actually wrote down several of the books I want to get that you've written. But you are, I don't even know where to start because you've done so much in your lifetime. And then, you grew up over, I guess, on the East Coast, and now you're living in Florida. You have grandchildren. You are a widow, and you do your family keeps you very busy, as well as your travel throughout the whole entire world. Oh my goodness. I was like, wow, swimming in the Black Sea. Okay. Wait, and you were just recent, I guess you're in Australia, you've been to China. I went on your YouTube channel because I have to say that when you have your thing on bread, because I do bread. I've been making bread so I have to just stop right here for just one moment, if you don't mind. I just gotta camp out on the bread because I was like, oh my God! I love this because about 18 years ago, someone introduced me to making bread, and I will say it is definitely an art you have to learn. I have thrown out so many loaves, but anyway, what they taught me was that I take the wheat berries, and then I grind them. I have a grinder, and then it makes the flour, and then I make the bread from that. But I also use it for all my other things. And so, anyway, you have a book on bread, which I think is amazing. And I also like that you take the spiritual application and the little things in life with your children and with your grandchildren, and you've written lots of books about it on how to apply it in your everyday life. And I'm definitely interested in your books on the girls. Right now, I'm with 5 girls at home right now. So anyway, but you've written so many books. I'm just going to read a couple of them off, and I'm still in the introduction. So
that's all right. That's all right. Good job.
Like the Lord's really blessed you. It's incredible. So I guess, is this your new book? Has it come out? The 52 weekly devotions for families that are called to serve. Has that come out yet?
Yes, that came out in the fall. So that is my newest book. That's number 26.
And I love that because we have a son that's right now becoming a firefighter. And and I was like, and he's right now in the EMT stage. Please pray for him. He's supposed to graduate in May, but he's certified right now. But he's finishing up certification. Okay, then the other book, I'm just going to name a couple: Stories of Faith and Courage from the Home Front. And then I like my mini dream room for kids, Secrets of Success for Women in the Home, Raising a Young Modern Day Princess, God's Girls. I mean, you have lots of books, and then also devotions for busy families. And then, so gosh, you just need to let her take over because and then you also write, you were a contributing author for, was it Focus on the Family?
I was when they had their parenting magazines. I did that for years. I did 3 articles a month for them.
Wow. And you also are a certified coach, writer for coach. And let me add that she's also a mathematician.
That's so awesome. So awesome.
I'm like,
well, we're so glad to welcome
you. The list goes on.
We are so glad to welcome you to Wow Mom. And Karen's a mom of 5. That's huge. And we all put our hats off to the moms because they are my heroes. We had last week, before I get on, the other day we had Bless My Grandchildren, which is a great book. And it was by Julia Cragun, and we enjoyed her as well. We have some bloopers sometime today. We're not going to have any bloopers because they have to be edited. That's why you haven't seen the show yet, Jan, on YouTube. But thank you, Karen, for joining us. I'm going to put you on, but we have found through talking on the phone that we have some connections. She's going to tell us how we met through a company that's kind of like LinkedIn, but also I want to say that we met through the fact that that we were both writers, and then we both have been on Dorothy Spalding's show, and I will send this to Dorothy to see. And and Jan has been on the show as well. We go on as the Catholic women that just at different ages and stages of life on the Titus 2 crew to talk about family and motherhood and marriage. So this is going to be a great show. And we also, lastly, we found out when I said my husband's a deacon, but I didn't say what church, and she says, oh, I'm Catholic, and I go to St. John the Evangelist. So that's our church. So Karen, welcome in more ways than one. We're glad to have you, and hello. Family is everything.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. And yes, family is so important to me. I grew up in the Northeast in Connecticut in a small farm community. I was actually 18th generation Connecticut. And so my family heritage goes back far. I lived within 3 houses of 13 of my cousins and several aunts and uncles, as well as my grandparents. On my mother's side, my father's side was within 5 miles of us. So lots of family. And I grew up in a functional family, raised a functional family. And then so many people would come to me and say, I don't know how to be functional. I don't know how to do this. That I just had such a heart for helping them. I would help them, and that turned into writing books and things that I didn't expect to do with my life.
Oh, so awesome. So awesome. You know, I like the creative style of the way you did do your, like, way you parented your children and the family building, because I'm so big on character and service and creativity. So can you tell us about the newest book and how that plays in for the ladies and gentlemen that are listening? Because I think this time that God has set aside for us to just quarantine or take a staycation is a time that we can all wake up a little bit and do some things that are new. And this is some new ways to build family Karen has designed. She may even read a chapter. Karen?
Yes. Well, the newest book is 52 weekly devotions for families called to serve, as you had mentioned. And every week I start with a little family beatitude. So since your co-host Jane has someone who's an EMT, I'll do a story that ties into an EMT. So the family beatitude for lifelines is, happy is the family who seek help, for they will find a lifeline. And then the focus, of course, is helping in emergencies, so that you can understand that. There's always a verse from the Bible, so that is, ask and it will be given to you. Search and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Then there's some activity options, and one of them just talks about 911 calls and how to make sure you know how to use them to practice emergency response for choking, and watching a video on the new way to do CPR. Things like that are some hands-on to do with your family. Now, then there's a story. So this story is called My Dad's in Trouble.
Okay.
This story, I'm just going to read the story. Hello, this is 911. What's your emergency? On scene. Dwayne nodded. Hello, don't be afraid. Just let me know what's wrong. It's my dad. Thank you for speaking up. What's your name and where do you live? Dwayne. He gave his address. You're doing great, Dwayne. Tell me, what is wrong with your dad? He has cancer and fell down. He's shaking and swinging his arms. It's a seashore. He's having a seizure. How has he had them before? Yes, I prayed and remembered to call 911. That's good. Stay on the phone and until the ambulance arrives. Let me know when they get there. The emergency responder spoke softly to Dwayne, and he told her the EMTs had arrived. As an EMT checked out his father, another one talked to Dwayne and helped him understand what they were doing. The seizure ended, but they took him to the hospital, and Dwayne rode with his dad and stayed at the hospital until a family member arrived to pick him up. So that's the story there. Each story in this book either is a child who's interacting with someone who's an emergency responder or a missionary or someone who's called to help, helps in the community, world, or nation. And others are children who are in families that have a worker who's in one of those fields. So maybe the child of a firefighter. Like I have a story of a little girl whose dad's a firefighter, and she wants to know why they have a teddy bear inside the fire truck. And he explains to her that when they rescue a child who's had an emergency and they've had a fire, they give that child a teddy bear.
Oh,
so those are the types of things that are in the book. And then it goes on and has little chat prompts and has a Bible story connection. So the one on that, the story connection, is to read how Jesus calmly responded in an emergency. And that, of course, is when his own disciples called out for help in the boat.
Oh, yeah.
And he was calm them down and calm the storm. And then besides that, there's a little scrapbook prayer journal option in which you can, because we all take these photos of our family, we make these scrapbooks. Do any of us make faith scrapbooks? We don't always think to do that. So every week there's a little prompt that you can take a picture, put that in. You can also, so this one would be, draw a police car, fire truck, or ambulance and write about people who help in emergencies. Draw a phone and what you might need to tell someone if you call 911. Add a heart and write what will help you not be afraid. And then there's a frontline tip for people who are EMTs in this case, or whatever the story has to do with, or something they can do to help their family, because those families are very unique. They have a mom or a dad who has to take off in the middle of a party to go help someone, who may be gone for weeks or months at a time in the military, all these things. So just to help them with that uniqueness. And then there's a short prayer to end that week. Right. So those are the types of things that are in the book.
So what ages would this be? Would this appeal to? Every age, or?
Well, the target age, your main age, is going to be the families with a child in elementary school.
Okay.
That elementary age. Younger ones you can work with. You just need to sometimes talk a little bit more about it, or on the hand-on activities, choose which one is going to be appropriate for your age. And but if you've got the older children, then you can help draw them in, and they might do some of the reading to the younger ones, might help them with the scrapbooking or anything like that. So they become one of the assistant teachers for your family.
So nice. I like the way you brought in the practical and how to, what to do, and don't be afraid. And I like then you brought in the arts as well as the scripture and a story. It's faceted, so there's something for everyone. I think that was brilliant, Karen. I think that was brilliant. I honestly do. Because I was going to say, it's based on how I did them with my own children when they were young. Really what started me into family devotions, my children were young, and there was that chaotic time when everybody's arguing with each other, the children are not getting along, and I said, God, this is not the way I envision my family. This is not what I want. And I realized that I needed to bring God into the picture more than I was doing. So as I did that, they would calm down with this. Yes. And it really helped them focus on one another. As we prayed for one another, we did what we call a powwow. Okay. We prayed over worry and worship over a wonder. So each person would do one worry and one wonderful thing. And the person next to them would pray one sentence for each. Okay. So they thank God that you got an A on your test. They would ask God to help you learn to ride your bicycle. Well, when they prayed for them, they started wondering, are you doing okay? Can I keep praying for you on this? Oh. And then they were so excited when it became a wow, that they started to focus on other people instead of themselves and their own needs. That's right. That's right. Jan, what do you think? That's a lot.
I'm right.
Oh, you're right down.
Writing that down. I love that. Just the other day we were doing devotion, and my girls were like, Mom, let's do a popcorn devotion. And I was, okay. So in basketball, they play basketball for the for a homeschool group, which we play schools and we're in a division. But anyway, it's kind of the same thing of popcorn, where you like read a scripture and then how did that speak to you? And then you call on somebody, because when we do devotion, there's like 6 of us sitting there in the mornings generally for homeschool. So, but this powwow is great. The little acronym, I like that. That's good. A good way for them to start, because I'm the same way. I'm like, with lots of children, I'm like, I didn't grow up this way. I have no clue, Lord. But I love that.
Well, my daughter, who homeschools her 5 children, my younger daughter, she'll call out a word. I can't think of the word right now, but it's an acronym that makes everybody drop what you're doing and let's run together, and we're going to open the Bible and start reading a scripture, and we're going to start sharing and praying. And it stops. She does it in the middle of chaos to stop everything from happening, in the middle of fights or whatever's going on. Really helps out to do this.
Yes, yes. I always like the scripture that goes, "Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I may not sin against you." Because as mothers, many kids don't want to be told, we're going to sit down and do a Bible story, or we're going to sit down and talk about Jesus or pray. But if we hide it, thy word, hide it in their heart, like put a word out there without saying, "Thus says the Lord." My kid's favorite scripture was, a dog returns to his vomit. Because it meant like he did it again. Oops, they did it again. But also, they didn't know it was a scripture as they got older. And then, just like the vegetables, they don't want to eat vegetables. So we hide them in something like, popcorn. Then they say, "Oh, that was amazing." No, it's true. It's a great mother that can do that. So few understand. It's important. It's very important. So, Karen. So we'll let you speak. If you have anything else to add, because is there any other things you can share? I love the tidbits. I love the tidbits of what you did. I'm a creative mother as well, so I like to hear what you did. Jane, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I really want to add on to the like I said, I'm kind of stuck on the bread, because that was actually in our reading today. Okay. That was in part of the reading for the liturgical reading today. Okay. That man cannot live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. So, because that is something that's near to me. Oh, there's your puppets. Oh, good. I'm so excited. This is our surprise guest today, Karen. Thank you for bringing him. Can he?
Hello, I kind of zip in and out of the universe.
Mr. Puppet, what is your name?
Zip.
Oh, Zoop. Okay, Zoop. Okay. And does he have a lesson for us today?
Well, I just want you to know I have traveled the universe, and God is always in control.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I think that's great. Nothing's impossible with him. I want to know if you could share a little bit about character. That's one of my hearts. My joke is that we need to grow in character. Get rid of sin and let God in. And I must need a lot of character, because God sent me 8 children. So, Jen love it. No judgment there. No judgment. But what do you think about teaching them character? I think that's so. Through the book, it would help. It would have character built in. But did you have any other tips to the moms out there? Because right now, I'm going to tell you this. They're going, "Wow, I need to pay that daycare more." Or they're saying like homeschooling. That's for the brave.
Well, yes, there are so many little lessons in life on helping children develop character. Right now, we want to help them develop compassion and kindness, because they're home with family, and sometimes it gets hard when they're not around family as much. Moms are finding less patience and things. If they learn patience, they can help their children learn that. But compassion is to say, we wish we could go hug Grandma, but we're not with her right now.
That's right.
Let's hug her virtually while we're on the phone or on an internet connection with her on FaceTime. Let's send her, and I'm probably, for my next newsletter, going to be doing a little thing, or my next Facebook Live even, on how to make a little paper cutout that can give a little hug.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
And that helps them reach out and send it to friends and all, to send out kindness. Because when you send a card to someone to thank after this is all over, we really need to thank hospital workers, EMT, everyone. And we can send them little thank you cards. Those families who have a little extra could send a little gift card in with that, especially if you have a neighbor in those fields. And just thank them for all they did during this pandemic. But when you start reaching out, you're starting to teach character. When you start having an older child help a younger child, you're teaching character there too. As well as when you say, all right, you are homeschooling 11, Jane. My daughter homeschools 5. When you're doing that, you can't work with everyone individually at the same moment. And they all have to learn some patience in doing that. So it's just everyday life that does it. When you're making bread and you have to let it rise, children learn they have to wait for that to happen, because if you cooked it without letting it rise, you'd have a big mess, and it would not be a beautiful loaf of bread.
Wow,
and sometimes you can, when you have a mistake in your bread making, that's a great time to say, this didn't come out right because I missed a step, or I didn't do this. And that's what happens when we rush through things and we don't take time, we don't have patience, we're not careful. And all of those things just naturally develop that character in your children, as well as showing stories of character.
Oh, I like that. Examples, to be an example of patience and character. I was going to ask you a question, and I know you know the answer, and I really think it's going to be something that this will be remembered. The younger generation has been, for some reason, maybe does motherhood a little different. In our day, a lot of us did not work outside the home, or if we did things like writing and things that were fit into our schedule, and they're busy doing something important. But I always tell the younger generation, this is the most important job you do. See, it's raising the next generation. They're going to take the reins. They're going to step in our shoes. And some they come into the job of, you know, motherhood, and then they go, whoa, this is a lot of patience, a lot of work. So this is an important time to speak. You have a chance now to speak to them and tell them why it's so important. I'm not saying everyone should quit their jobs. For us, I think the economy, we need the economy to go apparently. But I found it the best thing I had to do in my life. Not that it was easy, and by any means, I'm sure Janet will say that too. But I felt like teaching them throughout the day about the Lord was very important. Teach about the fruits and the fruits and vegetables, the fruits and the virtues was very important as well. So Karen, what would you tell the next generation? Like, why should they try on those shoes of domestic mom, Proverbs 31 mom?
Right. Well, first of all, I think we need to let people know you're not going to instantly, when you have a baby, be a wonderful Proverbs 31 mom. That's the end of the journey. That's the beginning of the journey. We can guarantee you're going to have trouble. You're going to have problems. You're going to have moments when you scream and wish you hadn't screamed at your child.
Yes.
Okay, we can guarantee that. We can also tell you that if you stay close to the Lord and pray and ask for His help, you will get better every day at what you're doing. If you're real and authentic with your children, that helps a lot. If you're willing to say, I'm sorry I yelled, I'm sorry that, you know, let's sit down and talk about the situation and talk about what went wrong, what your child did because they did disobey, what you did because you maybe overreacted on that, and that helps you with everything. Learn that every moment can also become a teachable moment. It can also become a playful moment. I just did a little Facebook Live with people a week ago where I talked about water. We have to have our children wash their hands. And I know one of the things Ellen says is tell them to say the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father, as they wash their hands. That'll be 20 seconds. The other thing I said is have little doll clothes or toys next to the sink so that when you're washing, you're also having playtime. You can wash a doll's outfit. You can wash your toy at that time. It spends a little more time with the water and reminds you that water is fun. Water also cleans everything. So you integrate faith as you're doing things, because then you can also take a moment to say, and you know what? Jesus washes our hearts. Just like that. Water washes the germs off. So you can integrate that faith. You can also use it as a time to talk about those germs without scaring them so much, because if they're learning, all right, it helps me to wash my hands, but I can have fun. I can play with water. And that calms down, because we can get our children over anxious. And we can be over anxious and forget that we just need to trust in God.
Very good. Father Brito was the one that coined the phrase about the Our Father and the Hail Mary and the Glory Be to God. I was thinking, I could do a whole rosary as much as I wash my hands. But thank you. That's true. Kid, that was for adults. But Janet, what do you think about, like, that is practical things put in everyday life for pointing them to Jesus?
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm listening. I'm learning. I'm learning listening to you because y'all would be mentors to me. I mean, I know I have still a lot of children at the house, and I have teens and tweens, and then I don't really have any toddlers. But this is so good because it is for me anyway, and maybe as a mom of different age group children that may be listening. How do you incorporate that with teens, with like tweens and teens? Because,
Right.
Toddlers are one thing, but then to do it with teens who kind of already,
Mhm.
they're I'm sorry, but they're on social media and they're listening. And so, I'm talking to them about that. Like, be careful what you're listening to, be careful, so how do you incorporate this then?
And I had 14 years between my oldest and youngest, and it sounds like you have a big range too.
Mhm.
So that I had 22 straight years of teenagers from the first one to the last.
we don't.
Wait, should I need to wave a red flag? Or, I'm sorry, a white flag. I surrender.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I get it.
Yes. The older ones want to be respected. They want to know that I'm becoming an adult. The younger ones just need to be teachable and obedient, and yet they want to be 30 before they're 10,
Yes, yes.
So one of the things we need to do is to sit down as a family. We always sat around the table, and well, not always for devotions. We'd go outside. We do fun things too, and we do hands-on practical activities, and that's fun to do. We need to bring laughter in and not make them think that Jesus is only serious.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
And we need to be real with them too. When one of my children would say, "Well, you don't believe in abortion, no matter what," and certainly the church believes in life. That you are just judgmental and other things. And I said, no, I have convictions and I have faith, and I have faith in what God wants, and to look at the terms they're learning from the world and the terms they need to learn, to just be honest about that and how you feel about it. And also, as he said, let those older ones be part of that teaching team for the younger ones. But for the oldest ones, before they would ever go off to college, those high school years, I made sure we did a year with Proverbs. That we really spent
that's good.
a time going through Proverbs, because that is full of such wisdom that Solomon has passed on through the generations, through the millennials and millenniums for all of us to have. And I think that's a great thing to do. Now, we would do things like, we had my husband go in the bathroom one time and have her pulling on the doorknob in and yelling for help, and the kids can't open the door. Now, the funny thing is, one of my teenagers went and got the key to the bathroom door from the other side. He comes up to unlock it that way. He said, "Dad, you can't pull the door closed. We'll never get it open from the other side."
But problem solving. Good.
That's good.
Down and talked about how sometimes we're praying for God for help and we're pulling against Him, not letting Him help us.
That's
And
good.
That is very good, though. At least they solved the problem, though. I think it's great your husband joined in, too. Did he help you with some of these books, or creatively help you? It was mostly...
Oh, he did, and he was always there leading devotions with the children when he was home. And when he was out to sea, if we were using a book, he'd have the same book. He has the same Bible version, so that he could be on the same page we were on. And we would record some of our devotions to mail him that recording.
Yeah.
Did it online, and he would read books to the children ahead of time, because we didn't know if he'd have mail or not sometimes. And once a week they'd get a new book with the reading of his reading to them. And I would say, well, once you're all ready for bed, I'll turn that on. I never knew how well that would get them ready for bed. I'd turn it on, I'd go to a different room and sit down, and it was almost like I was hearing him put the kids to sleep, and I would be so calm with that. And when he came home, they just expected he would be the one reading to them at night. So that just became the tradition. He was away or home reading to them at night.
Wow. That's the legacy they have. I think it's a wonderful thing for the military wives and those who are single to know that there is creative ways to leave a legacy. So your children, I'm sure, have a wealth of knowledge in their past, in their upbringing, to pass down to their children. What are some of the favorite things they're passing down? Your adult children, I guess, now, maybe.
My husband's sense of humor and his kindness has always been passed on. He's called the legacy of kindness. My younger daughter is now a shopper. Okay. She comes to but she shops groceries for people. And because she used to go to the grocery store with her dad and saw how he interacted with the cashiers, and he would do something to make them smile, she does the same thing. And the people at the store where she primarily shops for other people just absolutely love her. They're so kind and sweet to her too. She brings them trays of cookies for holidays and things. And you know, it's that kindness that I see passed on from him. We also have those recordings. We digitalize them. My daughter has those original books that he had sent. So it's really, that type of legacy is also passed on. But I think that when we pass on character, it's the best legacy we can pass on.
Sure. I always tell people, you know, the gifts of the Spirit, the gifts from God, are free gifts. You know, you pray and God in confirmation gives us a free gift. Not the fruits. That's another story. We have to grow the fruits. See, just like they grow the garden, just like they grow the put the seed in the ground or grow the bread, make the bread, and it takes some effort. There's really no magic wand, moms. So when you meet your child for the first time, they're so precious and they're in your arms and you go, they're just so awesome. They'll never do anything wrong. They made you a thing or two wrong, and we have to train them up in character. It's our role. It does sound hard. I remember just saying to the Lord one time, well, they just want to obey. And he goes, that's why you have to train them up. See, they don't come out like, they come out with a sin nature just like we do, and that's why we have the sacraments to give us grace and confession when we get upset. So, Jan, train them up. That's a day-long job, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
It's all day.
Funny. They will turn the table on you at times. I can remember when Michael did something to one of his siblings, and I said, Michael, how could you hurt them like that? Don't you know what God said? And he looks at me and says, well, I wasn't as bad as Abel. I didn't kill him. Cain and Abel, you know, Abel's brother Cain. And I said, now, wait a minute. Is the extreme, but that's doing anything wrong is wrong. We had to sit down and talk about that too, but it was so funny because, you know, it was like, I've got this scale. I'm not at the end of the scale.
That's great. You know, everyday life, it just is instilled in them to do. So I'm trying to think. We usually give a last minute, like what do you want to say for your last call? You know, what is the last word you want to say? But we've had so much wealth of knowledge, and I wanted to say that I love the story. So before we say the last word, guys, let's tell a story, like about your kids or something in character growth, or something that that you want to say, like she just did about the. Jan, do you have a funny or no?
No, mine's. Oh, go ahead.
I do want to mention that when we're talking about puppets, that I have a free resource area on my website. You go to resources on the menu bar, go to free downloads, and you'll have this download to make the dog mascots for the firefighters and the police, so your children can talk safety with that. You can talk about it, and it has all the directions to just download. So make sure you have fun and playtime with your kids and not just giving them directions. You know, they often say dads only spend like 15 minutes talking with their children, but when they look at the content of the words, it's usually telling them things. And not interacting with them. And moms will often be giving directions and telling them or asking, did you do your homework? Did you do this? You know? And what we have to do is make sure some of it's playtime, some of it's just having fun as a family, and some of it is prayer and sharing your faith.
That's right. A balanced motherhood life. Jane, are you funny, or do you want me to go? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. That's good.
I'm good. I like yours. Yours are hilarious. You have to make them laugh too. This is a very trying time. Encouragement and growth.
Right. I'm just gonna. This really isn't a story, but I just think it's really important for mothers or other people may be listening, and even if it's down the road, but like how we are responding to what's going on, I think is really important. And like Karen was saying, and Ellen, you know, having some fun, and also, you know, directions and teaching, but you know, how we're responding. Are we responding in faith as mothers? You know, because I think that's really important, because more is caught than taught. Amen. And that's kind of what that wraps up the whole thing that we've been talking about, because how we're interacting with our children, how we're interacting with people at the grocery store, you know, how we're interacting, because it's all about relationships in the end anyway. Because, you know, when people are on their deathbed, they're not saying, oh, let me make one more business deal. No, they're more wanting their family, their children. So it's all about relationships. So I just want to say that, you know, how we're responding I don't really want to say reacting or overreacting, but how we're responding in a time of crisis in the world, in our nation, is going to be really important because our children will remember this for the rest of their life.
Yes, and Jane and I did a show the other day that was about moms, a message to the moms, so check that out as well. What not to say, like don't scare the children, and don't talk out loud or put the TV on and have them be fearful. And not only about germs, but about the state of our society right now. I was going to tell a funny one. I also, Karen, have a fireman son-in-law, and his name, I want to mention him on the show because he listens, this Trey Cashwell. And he's a really great fireman. He's having to do a lot of things. We're praying fervently for his protection. So thank you for saying the thing about a thank you note. We're going to make sure we do that as a family. And then secondly, I want to say that the 911 thing, just I couldn't help it inside myself as you're saying this story and how to teach the children. I one time had a grandbaby I used to keep, she was from 2 till she was 4 every day. And so one day I did feel faint. I was older, I'm 66 now, so I was older, and I went, Bella, I guess in those days I was 56, but I said, Bella, if Nana faints, call 911. And she said, okay, Nana. And she said, what's 911? So I thought it was like a funny thing, but I try to make it a little bit light, and I do appreciate everything you've said. So we're going to go with last words. We could go on this show forever, though. We could. We want you on again. Don't we, Jane Ann? We want her on again. So
yes.
You want to go with when I say last words, you tell where to reach you, where to buy your books, all that. And so I'll give you a minute to think because I just sprung this on you, but I'm blind and blonde. I never look at the clock, and I can go anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 or maybe 10. Last time I go, I think it went over. Jan goes, no, it's right at 33. I go, I never look at the clock. So, Jan, something that you did last minute and how to get a hold of you?
Okay. You can get a hold of me at www.dimeadozenmom.com.
Okay, and then do you have one last words?
Just do not fear. Do not fear. Just like in the beginning when she was talking about Jesus calming the storm in the boat, it's just keep the faith, keep looking to Him, trusting in Him, and then enjoying this time with your family. If mothers have been out at work in the workplace and now all of a sudden they're finding themselves constrained in the home with children, just really have gratitude gratitude that you're able to be home and grow this relationship with your children, because I think that's really important.
Okay, and then Karen, and make sure we get it clear. I know you're really a clear speaker, but still, they can write this down now, guys.
Yes. To get in touch with me, my website is www.Karen with a K, Whiting, like the fish, WHITING.com. And from there, you can link you'll just click on the links to my Facebook and any other social media. I live on Facebook a lot more than the others. I know the younger moms are on Instagram, Snapchat, and you can get me on Instagram too. But I will respond. I love to interact with people, with other moms, with readers.
Thank you so
much.
My
My books are available at any bookstore. You can, and online, anywhere you buy books. I always say try to go to your local Christian store first, your church store if they have one, and carry books, because we want to support those small businesses in the community, especially right now.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. I was going to say that, when God puts His Holy Spirit upon us at confirmation, He instills gifts, and we have to walk in them. We have to open that present, and then see what's inside. And this is a gal, Karen Whiting, that, did I say it right, Whiting? I hope so. Is that right? Is it
Whiting,
yes. Yes, that has opened that gift, and she has poured it into the world. Do you see? She's not opened it. She said, I'm going to share the gift. Don't look at her and say, wow, she is full of lots of gifts and graces. See, she opened that gift. But see, God also has a gift for you, moms. And your motherhood may not look like Karen or Jane Ann or mine, but it'll be just as important. See, we're forming the next generation. Yes. And Karen and Jane Ann and I are all available to help you with questions or concerns, because we have a heart for your generation to pass down the faith and the joy of being a mother and wife, and those who are single, and those who have lost a loved one due to serving. And we ask that you would contact Karen, because her books are a wealth of knowledge, but so is she, because God instilled into her the gift that she just opened. So I thank you. Anything else, guys? Do you want to repeat your contacts? I just said to contact you. Repeat the contacts, and then we'll go.
You wanted to know about my next project.
Okay, good. That's very good.
I am going to be doing a devotional book for moms
Nice.
to help them become the mom they want to be.
This is super. No, I think it's great. I think it's great. I'm so about mentoring, Karen. That's why I feel like they have questions, we have answers. Not because we're so smart. We walk the journey and with the blisters to prove it. And so Jane is a great mentor as well. She does a ton of stuff. So to get a hold of you,
I'm learning from you guys. Trust me. Yeah. So you can get in touch with me at www.dimeadozenmom, just like it sounds.com.
Okay, and Karen, one last time, just so I can jot it down. Sometimes when you say it the first time, they don't get it. So
Get hold of me at KarenWhiting.com.
thank you. And I'm Ellen Mongan. We're going to close off the show. I'm Wow Mom, and my email is wowellen@yahoo.com. You get a hold of me at Catholic Mom or Augusta Chronicle as well. We have answers, so ask the questions, but also look into checking out some of her books and see what you think. And then maybe write her a note and thank her. Thank those firemen, policemen, nurses, and doctors. Thank all that have just extended a loving hand to you during your lifetime. Thank your mom. Thank your grandma. That's where I got my faith. Thank all those who in your life poured in. You have the time now. This is the time to build family and just say thank you. So thank you for joining us, and come back again next time and see what we can see. We all learn from each other. Karen,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on the show. There she is one more time. Thank you, Jane Ann, for hosting with me. Always a joy. I'm going to close
Love
this
it.
off, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3. No bloopers. We're going to say no bloopers. That's my best part. And thank you, Deacon Pat, for getting us on.